और अब तो ऑपरेशन सिंदूर भारत का न्यू नॉर्मल है। अगर पाकिस्तान ने फिर से आतंकी गतिविधि या सैन्य दुस्साहस दिखाया तो हम उसका मुंह तोड़ जवाब देंगे। कोई भी न्यूक्लियर ब्लैकमेल भारत नहीं सहेगा। न्यूक्लियर ब्लैकमेल की आड़ में पनप रहे आतंकी ठिकानों पर भारत सटीक और निर्णायक प्रहार करेगा। आतंक के आकाओं को अब समझ आ गया है, भारत की ओर नजर उठाने का एक ही अंजाम होगा, तबाही। भारत माता की, भारत माता की, भारत माता की।
Namaste, Jai Hind and welcome to this edition of The Right Stand. I'm Anand Narasimhan. Prime Minister Narendra Modi setting Operation Sindoor as the new normal. Less than 24 hours, in fact less than 12 hours that he had addressed the nation, he was on his way to Adampur. The airbase the Pakistanis claimed that they had targeted and they had hit. They made a lot of claims without saying anything, allowing pictures to speak 1,000 words. Prime Minister Narendra Modi at Adampur among the braves of Bharat, busting narratives that had been peddled, canards and lies that had been peddled by by Pakistan in the international media. The lies that the Pakistan military establishment, its government, civilian government has been saying to its people, all busted. All those victory marches that were taken out on the streets of Pakistan, all coming a cropper to a knot because Prime Minister Narendra Modi was on the tarmac at Adampur, the runway operational, the S-400 in the background, the MiG-29s in the background and all the air warriors all around. This entire narrative being busted by the Prime Minister, unveiling the new doctrine to crush Pakistan-sponsored terrorism. Prime Minister Narendra Modi underscoring that if there is a terrorist attack on Bharat, a fitting reply will be given and it will be on Bharat's terms. Any future act of war is equal to any future act of terror is equal to an act of war.
भारत ने अब 3 सूत्र तय कर दिए हैं। पहला, भारत पर आतंकी हमला हुआ तो हम अपने तरीके से, अपनी शर्तों पर, अपने समय पर जवाब देंगे।
Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit to the Adampur Air Base had a strong message. Bharat firmly with its armed forces, proud of its armed forces, and this is a new Bharat which is strong, which is able and will use the combined might of its armed forces if its sovereignty is threatened, if its people are targeted. The Prime Minister leading the nation in personally thanking our braves, a massive morale booster, be it Galwan or be it Operation Sindoor. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has always been there at the front, on the front lines. The visit also fact-checking Pakistan's false claims, like I said, causing severe damage to the airbase, etc., etc. PM Modi reiterating that Bharat will strike precisely and decisively at terrorist hideouts developing under the cover of nuclear blackmail. He's very clearly hinted Operation Sindoor has only been paused. It's not over.
कोई भी न्यूक्लियर ब्लैकमेल भारत नहीं सहेगा। हमारी एयरफोर्स ने पाकिस्तान में इतना डीप आतंक के अड्डों को टारगेट किया।
Well, Prime Minister Narendra Modi has also reaffirmed, quote, there is no difference between a government sponsoring terrorism and the masterminds of terrorism. During Operation Sindoor, the world has again seen the ugly face of Pakistan when top Pakistani Army officers came to bid farewell to the neutralized terrorists. A strong evidence of state-sponsored terrorism. Will continue to take decisive steps to protect India, our citizens, from any threat.
आपने आतंक के तमाम बड़े अड्डों को मिट्टी में मिला दिया। 9 आतंकी ठिकाने बर्बाद हुए। 100 से ज्यादा आतंकियों की मौत हुई। आतंक के आकाओं को अब समझ आ गया है, भारत की ओर नजर उठाने का एक ही अंजाम होगा, तबाही।
Now, how Bharat displayed its capabilities in the deserts and mountains and also proved superiority in new age warfare. During this operation, the authenticity and the ability, the trustworthiness and the effectiveness of indigenously made weapon systems, be it for offense or defense, were also highlighted by Prime Minister Narendra Modi.
भारत की एयरफोर्स और भारत की नेवी ने उस पाकिस्तानी सेना को भी धूल चटा दी है।
भारत माता की जय! भारत माता की जय! भारत माता की जय!
आपने पाकिस्तानी फौज को भी बता दिया है, पाकिस्तान में ऐसा कोई ठिकाना नहीं है जहां बैठकर आतंकवादी चैन की सांस ले सके। हम घर में घुसकर मारेंगे और बचने का एक मौका तक नहीं देंगे। और हमारे ड्रोन्स, हमारी मिसाइलें, उनके बारे में तो सोचकर पाकिस्तान को कई दिन तक नींद नहीं आएगी।
Prime Minister Narendra Modi also sent a stern warning to Pakistan. One more strike and we will hit back harder.
पाकिस्तान के अंदर टेरर हेडक्वार्टर्स को हिट करने का था, आतंकियों को हिट करने का था, लेकिन पाकिस्तान ने अपने यात्री विमानों को सामने करके जो साजिश की रची, मैं कल्पना कर सकता हूं वो पल कितना कठिन होगा जब सिविलियन एयरक्राफ्ट दिख रहा है। और मुझे गर्व है, आपने बहुत सावधानी से, बहुत सतर्कता से सिविलियन एयरक्राफ्ट को नुकसान किए बिना कमाल करके दिखाया, उसका जवाब दे दिया। साथियों, ऑपरेशन सिंदूर से बौखलाए दुश्मन ने इस एयरबेस के साथ साथ हमारे अनेक एयरबेस पर हमला करने की कई बार कोशिश की। बार बार उसने हमें टारगेट किया, लेकिन पाक के नापाक इरादे हर बार नाकाम हो गए। पाकिस्तान के ड्रोन उसके यूएवी, पाकिस्तान के एयरक्राफ्ट और उसकी मिसाइलें हमारे सशक्त एयर डिफेंस के सामने सबके सब ढेर हो गए। अब फिर कोई टेरर अटैक हुआ तो भारत जवाब देगा, पक्का जवाब देगा। ऑपरेशन सिंदूर भारत का न्यू नॉर्मल है।
Let this resonate, viewers. Operation Sindoor Bharat ka new normal hai, and in his address to Bharat on Monday evening, Prime Minister Narendra Modi said, शांति का मार्ग भी शक्ति से होकर ही जाता है. We have to become as a nation, we have not only proven our strength, but we need to become stronger. We need to become far more stronger if we have to become a Viksit Bharat by 2047. Lieutenant General D.P. Pandey is with us, former GOC, Chinar Corps of the Indian Army. Ambassador Ashok Sajjanar should be joining us. Tilak Devasharji, author, former member of the NSAB with us. And Squadron Leader Dipti Kala, defense expert, joining us. My namaste and Jai Hind to everybody. Before we take this conversation forward and discuss the new normal, and has Prime Minister Narendra Modi set the bar right there, you know, the red line drawn right at the perhaps closer to the Pakistani military establishment than ever before. We've just got more news coming through. How we have hurt Pakistan. And this is important, viewers. Government sources are now telling CNN News 18, Aman Sharma getting us these details, that the attack actually targeted major ammunition depots and air bases such as Sargodha and Bholari, where F-16 and JF-17 fighter jets were stationed. Now, as a result, nearly 20%, and this is what is important, nearly 20% of Pakistan's Air Force infrastructure was destroyed. Over 50 individuals, including squadron leader Usman Yusuf and 4 airmen, were killed in the bombing of the Bholari Air Base. Several Pakistani fighter jets also destroyed. On the intervening night of May 9th and 10th, Bharat became the first country to strike 11 air bases of a nuclear-armed nation in a single operation, destroying 20% of Pakistan's Air Force assets. High casualties were inflicted at the Bholari Air Base, including death of squadron leader Usman Yusuf and destruction of key fighter jets. But more importantly, their defense infrastructure, their capabilities were thwarted. Not just at Noor Khan, but at Bholari, Sargodha also. Squadron leader, you want to take this? Perhaps the most calibrated air operation that has been witnessed in the recent times, and perhaps the only ever where 11 air bases were simultaneously targeted, and that too of a nuclear-tipped nation.
Indeed, Anand, that is what I have been telling, that see, when you want to hit a air base, it's a big decision from the military perspective also, because how we started was targeting the terror camps, and Pakistan then retaliated from the military angle, which means they were 100% supporting their terror activities, and that is what in reply we had to retaliate, and we had to retaliate hard, because what we were aiming, our aim has been very clear since day one. Now when we talk about military operations, you know, there is a protocol that of course my seniors are there, they would throw a light on that, but then when military operations are being carried out, they are very precision, the precision is there, all the strategies are there, the tactics are made, everything is you know, very well calibrated, and then the decisions are made. So if we have decided that Pakistan being a nuclear country, still we are taking such big decisions that we are going to hit your air bases, that to 11 air bases, and doing such kind of 20%. If you are destroying 20% of your Air Force assets, it simply means that even if you pick up the history, Anand, you would see that such kind of efforts have never been made. The armies you take a lot of countries also, such kind of win we have never had, or we have never seen. This is the might of Indian armed forces. In fact, I've heard from people who've been somehow part of from the journalism also, who've been part of Ukraine-Russia war, who've been part of other country wars. They have told me in the past 4 days, when I've been interacting with a lot of journalists, that ma'am, I'm telling you on face that I have not seen the might of what Indian Army or the Indian Armed Forces has None of the army has that. So it clearly signifies that what Indian armed forces are for, and if we have hit their air bases, it means that we 100% had the might to win it, but then we were not there for war.
Correct. But if 11 air bases have been targeted simultaneously and 9 have been hit, that shows how vulnerable Pakistan was. And in one strike, and that too where the international border or the LOC has not been even crossed, and for 20% of Pakistan's air infrastructure to be impacted. This is significant. This is huge. Ambassador Ashok Sajjanar is also with us. General Pandey, Operation Sindoor is the new normal. So if Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Monday evening was perhaps at his tenacious best at the airbase at Adampur, while he saluted the brave hearts and the braves of Bharat across the disciplines, he seems to have just underlined that new normal. Shanti ka marg Shakti se, and Operation Sindoor is the new normal. More importantly, he said it's just been paused. We have just paused this right now. He's not said that this is over.
Yeah, so Anand, if the question is to me,
Yes, General Pandey.
I will talk of a few symbolism with the visit to Adampur Air Base.
Ji.
Adampur was one of the air bases which was attacked by the Pakistanis. So there was some sort of a misperception about it having targeted some locations of ours. By merely the Prime Minister landing there and conducting a full-fledged media-covered event, it showcased the bluff, or it is actually called the bluff and the fake news peddling by Pakistani media and his forces. The second thing, if you've seen the picture when he's standing, you got S-400 right behind. It is also, cocking the news
here, please? Yeah.
on the, not only on the enemy, but also on so many other people who had cast an aspersion on this procurement of a very important piece, which actually weaved the entire multi-layered AD system, which has actually come out like a wall. So there is a comparison which he's again drawn his statement while at the base, which he didn't do yesterday, right? While standing there, he's talked of breaching at will the wall which the Pakistanis had. So please understand that while majority of our systems are indigenous to quite an extent, what was deployed at Pakistan where the Turkish systems, I am told they were also piloted and controlled and managed by Turkey. Some people on some experts on the ground. There were Chinese systems which were layered, which faltered and destroyed. In fact, you recall we were sitting there when we got the news of their radar system getting hit.
HQ9.
The other part is there were some very critical systems which were deployed, tiered in the depth, which are again American systems. They also got breached. So willy-nilly, the Prime Minister's statement saying that our equipment has told the world, not only the Pakistanis, but more importantly also to the internal audience, that this whole effort which has been ongoing to ensure that Shakti is being made ready for that Viksit Bharat of 2047 is just not a slogan, but that all has been worked very hard in last about 10 years. So it is also very major political, it is also economic, and is also a military statement covering the entire spectrum of the target audience for information in the information domain. The next part, I think, what he actually said when Operation Sindoor is going on, it is, please understand, the internal audience is quite okay what we have achieved. We wanted to hit, that is what the Prime Minister said, that we are going to get after the terrorists and the infrastructure who were right behind this. So that facet has been done, dusted and behind. But it is also in your face to the world leaders who wanted to take the claim of that bogey credit back home. They can sell the story and the Western media will pick up and they will talk that the President Trump had taken a low-hanging fruit, could not do Israel, Hamas could not do Ukraine, Russia. Oh, here come, we have sorted out this problem. The fact of the matter is when he says that Operation Sindoor continues, is telling the Pakistan Army that mend your ways, But I think more importantly, telling everybody else that we will take our call in decision making to strike at will. Will strike at will. And this is a line which I quote every time. Will strike at will is the new norm which the Prime Minister has thrown at the world, at Pakistan, and oh, by the way, you look towards the northwards, right? It is also telling northwards that don't mess. You know, you messed in Doklam, you messed in Galwan. And next time you mess with us, we are not waiting for anybody else to come and intervene. We are going to take you on. So there are, you know, he's known in every line of his word. You can actually flesh out messaging at variety of people in different manner, which unfortunately people don't understand. But his compliment to the armed forces, where he was obviously forthcoming. But he's also told the armed forces in a very, very direct manner that look, you have done this, achieved this. Please start getting ready for what is going to come in the future. You have to be always in the state of readiness to be the deliverer for the political mandate which will come from the government of India. Till the time we reach that position, Shanti ka rasta Shakti se jata hai. So Shakti, you might as well get prepared, howsoever you want to be, because you will get these orders. And the last point again, you know, he came about and spoke again today and yesterday, was this issue of controlling the escalation ladder. I must tell you what Scholar Leader Bharti was also trying to bring out. You know, it is amazing that in the current contemporary world environment, where person like me always talk that when you unleash something like air power and you cross, controlling of escalation ladder is going to be that much difficult. But here comes a political astute management of the environment, that the direction comes that I have said, you will hit the terror infrastructure, please go ahead and do that. How you do it is your problem, not mine. So actually giving the hand to armed forces, but yet telling them how much you can go ahead is very, very important, right? So at all stages the world has been told that it is a fantastic armed forces we have. Oh, by the way, we have a government of India which is controlling, unlike so many other countries in the world where the things are reversed. So you please look at all these stuff. And in the last, I'll just wind up the facet of cultural influence in this. You know, while a lot of people in India also were praying for more blood, but the cultural mourning and the teaching which comes out for a responsible nation in the world committee of the world nations has come out so clearly that the instructions were to ensure no civilians will be hit. Oh, by the way, not even Pakistani military stations will be hit till the time they act funny. So first day, you go out and you hit the terror infrastructure, you wipe them out. Next day, when the Pakistanis try to feel funny, you still don't go back hitting them, knowing fully that you can do so. And the time is in your side. You only send a message that while you have sent across so many drones, missiles, we still don't want to touch you.
We'll still show you resilience.
The third day is the one when the messaging happened.
So I think that tipping point was sending across the Fatah to
comes
ballistic
out
missile.
conscious.
And Bharat coming
so Bharat comes out as a consciously a very, very responsible country.
And I think
where
huge
Pakistani
amount of
people
restraint.
have not been touched.
See, imagine this kind of power had it been there with the Pakistani military forces and with such maniacs and lunatics sitting on the other side, what they would have done. But the world has to understand that Bharat's restraint is so much and its resolve is so strong, despite the fact that it is 26 innocents who were massacred by Pak terrorists. That anger, still in that anger to exercise that kind of restraint is phenomenal. Tilak Devasharji, Ambassador Sajanar, thank you for your patience coming to you across, and there are other angles also we'll move on to. One of the facts that stood out is the Prime Minister wearing the 8-wing cap. So the Western Naval Command and Western Air Command, beg your pardon, and on the Western Command, they have this cap which has the Trishul, which is marked there. But the 8-wing has also got the Shivling. So the Shiv Tandav Stotram, this whole transformation from Shanti to Shakti and from Gandhi to Ram. Somewhere, Tilak Devasharji, these are also moorings philosophical moorings that there is a shift and there is a new normal in how Bharat is going to approach? Bhay bin hoye na preeti.
I think so. I think by now we have got used to the fact that anything and everything that the Prime Minister does has a deep meaning. You know, it's extremely well thought out. Just by visiting Adampur, he demolished the narrative of Pakistan that they had attacked this airfield. The runway would not be repaired for a year. They had taken out the S-400. You know, all those things which there was propaganda about. And while we may have rebutted it, the best demonstration of Pakistani falsehood was the very presence of the Prime Minister on the tarmac with the S-400 in the background and a MiG-29. You know, just showing that, what are you talking about? He didn't have to say the propaganda was false. People could see that for themselves. And then the message that he delivered, when you combine it with the message that he gave last night, you know, that very historic speech that he gave, and then he reiterated parts of it. And especially, you already mentioned about Shakti, but the three principles of India's national security doctrine moving ahead. You know, the nuclear overhang, any act of terror would be treated as almost like an act of war. And terrorists and the government sponsoring terrorists, no distinction will be made. Now, this is the new national security doctrine, which I think he's reiterated it twice, and now would need to be operationalized by different government organs and the three service headquarters. So I think in every which way, the messaging, the very fact of his presence, what he had to say, his salute to the bravery of the Air Force and the armed forces, and he also mentioned that both in defense and in offense, they were outstanding. They prevented attacks from Pakistan despite what they all tried to do, and their attacks were, you know, absolutely precision attacks, both on terror camps as well as the destroying the 11 airfields. I mean, it is a stupendous achievement, as the lady officer mentioned. You know, 11 airfields to be taken out in one go, stretching from Skardu all the way down to Malir. You know, it's an amazing the kind of planning we should have gone into it, the kind of timing, the aircraft where they took off from. I think it's a massive, and historians are going to be studying this for a long time to come. That how did India manage to do this? And the kind of destruction, you know, which was shown through satellite imagery, kind of destruction. I was, you know, Rahim Yar Khan, for example, airfield. There's a huge crater. Whatever munition was used, it's going to take a long time to fix it. Likewise in Sargodha and in the Noor Khan base in Rawalpindi. So, I mean, it's a tremendous achievement, and Prime Minister going there, I think, really showed that he was so impressed. He encouraged them, and I'm sure the Air Force, I have a personal interest in the Air Force, as you know, you know, I'm an Air Force brat. So I feel a great sense of pride at what the Air Force has been able to achieve, and the fact that the Prime Minister was personally there to cheer them on.
There are many times in the past when the Air Force has been seething कि हमें क्यों नहीं जाने दिया? Why haven't you put the Air Force into service, and why haven't you put us into action? We could have come and you know, taken a lot of you know, brought the Pakistanis to knees, and at that time there was not this confidence in our air power, in Bharat's air power. So it looks like that पिछले 10-20 साल की कसर जो है, like they say, last 15-20 years, that thing has not been done in one go. So kudos to Air Chief Amarpreet Singh ji. Yeah.
Now it's the Navy's turn. The Navy is also chaffing that they have not been let loose on Karachi. I'm sure their turn will also come.
Yeah, the Navy is just being prepped, sir. They are being prepped. They've been asked to, they've done their bit in terms of keeping vigil and providing cover, so the dimensions will change. Interestingly, the Pakistanis this time thought last time Air Force used kiya tha, this time they may try the naval route, and look what we've done. We've just said, okay, it's the combined might that you will see. One will attack, the other will defend, the third will continue to either provide cover or also continue to simultaneously attack. In fact, interestingly, Adampur was an active base of operations during 1965-1971 war, safeguards the western borders of Punjab, Rajasthan, Rajasthan, Haryana, Jammu Kashmir, and exceptional preparedness by the command during Operation Sindoor. It neutralized Pak-backed threats. The Prime Minister's worn this cap, paying a tribute for defending the nation. The Prime Minister boosting troop morale. It's a very strong gesture of solidarity. That cap is actually the Western Command cap with the Trishul. The Trishul obviously stands for precision. It stands for being able to penetrate and hit, and along with that, he's mixed the 8 wing. The 8 wing is what the Adampur base has been christened, and that's where the symbolism also comes through. Deeply cultural, Shiva Tandav Stotram coming through, so the Rudra Roop of Bharat coming through. But Shiva is also supposed to be someone who spends more time meditating, and he is the Lord of the cosmic universe. So, and the greatest of the yogis, he is the Adi Yogi. So there is a huge amount of messaging that's come across. Ambassador Sajanhar, this is also a day when again the Pakistanis have been fact-checked multiple times. S-400 is intact, Tarmac is intact, MiG-29 is intact, and also the PIB fact-checking the DGISPR. Interestingly, his own father is a proscribed terrorist, and he's been mentioned on the UN Security Council Sanctions Committee for aiding and abetting with Osama bin Laden. The DGISPR calls Abdul Hafiz Rao a common man, and the PIB fact-checking him also. Now, what is Bharat's diplomatic position going to be? What is the new normal vis-a-vis Bharat to the world? We have diplomatic offensives coming from various envoys across various countries who are already giving very strong interviews to the international media. But is that just the beginning of perhaps another Shanti ka Marg Shakti se?
Thank you very much, Anand. I agree with you. I think this fact-checking is very essential. It's not essential only for our own people, because all this misinformation, disinformation, and fake news, this tends to what is called the fog of war. It tends to cloud the faculties in terms of appreciation of our own people, because when you get bombarded from all sides by all this information, and what we've seen as far as Pakistan is concerned, it has been a past master. It might not be good as far as the skies are concerned, the waters are concerned, or the land is concerned. But as far as the waves are concerned, the cyber waves are concerned, it is a past master as far as spreading its fake narrative is concerned.
Right.
So whether it is downing of the 5 jets of India, for which Khwaja Asif had no evidence, no proof, except to say that it is all over the social media in India. So, I think that is very important, and the confidence with which the Prime Minister delivered his message yesterday, I think that was very important, because it really laid to rest all the fake news that Pakistan had been spreading. Allow me to make 2 more points before I come to the point that the question that you asked. Number one, having all this Russian military and equipment and aircrafts in the background when the Prime Minister was visiting the Adampur base, I think that was symbolic in its own way. Because I think in some way, India is also a little cut up with the United States at this time, at this moment. The manner in which Donald Trump has jumped in with, no sense of history, talking about 1,000 years war, not knowing that, it's not a biblical war, not knowing that it has just started. Kashmir and Pakistan came into existence 75 years ago, and this terrorist thing started about 30 odd years ago. So, and again talking about that I will mediate on Kashmir, and, there is a lot of fact checking that needs to be done there also. And the fact that the Prime Minister did not even a single time refer to the United States or any other country's, efforts or mediation, I think that would be a huge snub as far as the US is concerned. And it was, I think, an intended snub, because what he has written, what Marco Rubio has written, that the talks will take place at a neutral site and broad issues will be discussed. Meaning, what is this? We never asked for mediation. We have stated since 2019 that there is, talks and terror don't go together. So there is no change that has taken place. Actually, meaning it is the Pakistanis who came on bended knees to us, asking for reprieve, asking
Right.
for.
Interestingly,
ceasefire.
Ambassador Sajjanar, the MEA today has clarified. They've also tried to underline the timelines that when JD Vance claimed that he had spoken to both sides, the escalation happened on that night. 9th is when he claimed he had spoken, and 9th night, 10th morning is when the escalation, serious escalation happened with the Pakistanis. The other thing that the MEA has very clearly clarified is that there was no talk about trade at all. Trump mentioning about trade, and JD Vance or Marco Rubio somewhere, anywhere mentioning that the both sides have agreed to sit down at a neutral venue and all of that was never discussed. It's never been spoken. It's all a figment of imagination of the Americans or the Trump administration. So clearly somewhere, not once, not twice, but Bharat multiple times has just underlined this, that there is a variance with what the Trump administration is claiming, including Donald Trump himself, and what actually has transpired on ground. Now, I just want to take this forward a little with another part. Prakash Singh ji, the former BSF chief, is also joining us here because he's made a very important observation, and this is doing the rounds, and a lot of people have made the observation. Namaste and Jai Hind, Prakash Singh ji. Thank you very much for joining us. Quickly, sir, I just want to understand. Just highlight this. Turkey and Azerbaijan. Once top picks for Indian tourists are now facing heat after voicing support and also actively helping Pakistan following the Pahalgam massacre and also Bharat's retaliation, that is Operation Sindoor. Azerbaijan's foreign ministry said it stands in solidarity with the people of Pakistan, with Turkey echoing the stance soon after, and also the amount of drones that's been that the Turks have sent across for Pakistan, and all of that has been sent across here, and it's also landed on some civilian establishments. It's also disrupted life for us, and it's armed with the Pakistanis to a low-cost warfare where they continue to send drones despite a stoppage that's been called. So clearly, many are saying Indian tour operators like Ease My Trip, Ixigo have already said that they are not going to allow Turkish bookings or show Turkish flights. That's one part. Cox and Kings, Ixigo are also part of that list. Those who are apple sellers saying we will not, wholesalers in Pune saying we will not sell apples, Turkish apples anymore. There are huge mass cancellations that are happening by many Bharatiya who are saying no more Turkey chutti. But Prakash Singh ji, you have a stronger point that Bharat needs to also diplomatically up the ante. So your thoughts, and then we'll get Ambassador Sajjanar and the rest of our guests to weigh in on it. Ji, Prakash Singh ji.
I think we should classify the countries in two categories. One which have come out openly in support of Pakistan, and the other, we know they nurse sympathies for Pakistan, but they have kept quiet about it. I think the first category of countries, we need to demonstrate our unhappiness, or shall I say anger against those countries in a very positive manner. And Turkey has come out very openly. I mean, I was told that their ships are anchoring in the coastal areas of Karachi. I was told that Turkish planes have landed in Pakistan, and that there has been a regular supply of weapons and particularly drones to Pakistan. Now, that being so, I think we should economically boycott Turkey in every possible manner. And if war breaks out, and if Turkey comes out openly in support of Pakistan, I think our missiles should strike at Turkey also, and not any civilian target, but the factories which are producing drones. We should. No one should take us for granted, and no one should take us lightly. I think we have reached a stage where we must demonstrate our power. It's one thing having comprehensive national power; it's another thing exercising that comprehensive national power. And I think a stage has come when we should exercise our comprehensive national power in various ways to express our annoyance and displeasure or even anger at countries which are openly supporting Pakistan.
Ambassador Sajjanar, your thoughts there. Operation Dost in 2023, where Bharat goes out to help Turkey during the entire earthquake, and Turkey turns around and says, Dost Pakistan. There were Turkish planes that were flying. They came in, they landed, and we clearly know that it was a huge supply of drones, and those tubes are still operating and sending those drones over across here. So Bharat is turning around and saying, what is going on? And common Bharatiya are saying, let's do something.
Yeah, no, thank you, Anand. That's a very important point. I think we have to keep in mind that Turkey has always been with Pakistan. In all, whether it is raising the Kashmir issue at the UN General Assembly sessions, etc., every time, even as far as 2019 when Article 370 was abrogated, Turkey, in addition to Malaysia, I think these were the two countries that referred to Kashmir in their UNGA statements. It was only last year at the UNGA that it did not mention it, and it was thought at that time because it wanted membership of the BRICS, and India had a role to play in that, and that is why it did not resort to this. But you would recall that a few years ago we had stopped Turkey from participating in a tender for some naval equipment of about $300 million, exactly for similar reasons. So going forward, I think what we need to do, I think we need to calibrate it, we need to take it step by step, but definitely, as far as on the economic front, all these actions are definitely required as far as
See,
our
the
tourists.
Turkish Airlines trying to ensure that there is reduced number of flights of the Turkish Airlines. Airspace, we don't allow the airspace to be used freely by Turkish Airlines. Is that possible? Prakash Singh ji was making a suggestion like that. But Prakash Singh ji, on the other hand, we are saying so much about Turkey. What about China then? There are talks that China has been actively trying to help the Pakistanis, not even with military equipment, but strategic inputs and in communications and intelligence. So what do we do about the Chinese? Unka defense stock, their defense stocks have fallen by about 8% today. They've seen reversals. There is also this huge, question mark over the efficiency and the quality of Chinese military equipment. But despite that, what do we do with China? Our balance of trade with China is only going up, sir.
It is, the balance of trade is going up because there is a very strong lobby in India. Very strong lobby in India for which, for that lobby, commercial interest and business interest and money is more important than national interest. I think that lobby needs to be understood, identified, isolated, and completely ostracized. We have to be very clear that unless China comes out openly on certain issues, you resolve the border issue first, and then we talk about economic relations and trade. But unfortunately, if you want to go back in history, right from Plassey, we were not defeated. It's not that Robert Clive won the battle at Plassey. He sort of bought the Jagat Seths and others, and that's how he won the Battle of Plassey. And today we have Jagat Seths among our own people. The business lobby is more interested in money, their trade, their treasure chest. They're more interested in that than in national interest. I think this lobby needs to be identified, isolated, and ostracized. And we need to be very clear that the balance of trade has to be evenly balanced. And for that, whatever sacrifices have to be made should be made. If in the process we have to forego certain imports, let it be so. We have enough of genius, enough of brilliance, and that brilliance and that genius only needs an opportunity to come up to the world level of excellence.
General Pandey, your thoughts?
Yeah, thanks for getting good, Mr. Prakash, because both gentlemen have highlighted very clearly that somewhere there is a segment of our society which loves to be with the people who are against our country. And by the way, they are the same people who will also hold armed forces and the government of India, whichever government is there, accountable for whatever reverses or challenges we have on the border, right? So like Turkey and China are very big players in anti-India narrative and anti-India maneuverings and shenanigans, right? So some has provided military hardware, manpower, equipment in the international lobbies. And China is very, very clear. Actually, this war, how much hand-wringing must be happening in China when this 22nd April happened and the Prime Minister announced that we'll go to war. And there was a whole, I don't want to, point fingers, but suddenly so many people came around, yes, we must go to war, right? And somewhere I think the establishment was understanding we are being lured, we are being baited. Pakistan was baiting for its own interest, which I think I've talked enough on your platform. But the Chinese were truly baiting India to tell the world that this is not a stable country. We have got an iron grip. You may have a trade war, but when you shift your factories from Apple and iPhone, etc. to India, you are not likely to have a safe environment to operate. So there were two elements in the world, right? And they are not our friends. The deep state in America and the West, and the Chinese in the entire set of countries itself.
Ji.
They are truly not our friends. And we need to be cognizant, unfortunately, while we will like to have economic disengagement, strangulation and everything. But the bottom line is that we just can't get away our interlinkages, dependence which we have developed for last 70 to 80 years.
Ji.
It will take us time, and therefore I think it's very important that the government of India, in the line of dime and tea,
Well, I
right,
think-
we continue to invest
Ji.
so that we are able to get away from these countries in terms of reliance.
Well,
Because
that's a long-term
how much ever
strategic
we
part,
want-
General Pandey. I'm just saying, from a people's point of view, this people-to-people connect, the revenue that we give as Bharatiya when we travel to these countries, the soft revenue that they earn out of us as a nation. I think somewhere there can be a cognizant thing that
So I will just very quickly say
that
when
is trickled.
Maldives happened,
That is trickled. Yeah, I'm just saying we have to
when
take it a
Maldives
little
happened,
further
and
up.
I think the
Gee, Maldives is far more smaller in the scheme of things compared to a Turkey or
no,
an
no. What I'm trying to say is that the Prime Minister gave a message
Gee.
that there is enough of tourism in your country.
Yeah.
You want to have destination weddings, you want to have destination events.
Ji.
Why don't we get the business within our country?
Exactly.
And there is
And-
enough
and-
place. I am just.
Gee, exactly. I'm sorry. I
So
have to.
we need to work at it.
Gee, I have to interrupt everyone. I've got to go across to, I think he's live with us. Lieutenant General D.S. Huda, who was at the head of the surgical strikes in 2016 with us, the former general officer commanding of the Indian Army's Northern Command. Thank you, sir. Thank you very, very much for your time. General Huda, Bharat's new doctrine, Operation Sindoor is the new normal. Will strike, the will to strike at will, as General Pandey was just saying. Your thoughts on this new normal, sir?
So Anand, absolutely. I think it has set an absolutely new paradigm in our strategic thinking, that we are going to go beyond the tactical. We are going to be strategic. We are going to be consistent in our policy that in case there are terror attacks in India, and I think the Prime Minister has made it very clear that it's not only terrorists, but governments behind terrorists and the terrorist leadership will be targeted. I think he's also said, the war is not over. Some of us have always said that, look, we should not look at this as one-off. We need a long-term strategic plan for this. And I think, the Prime Minister has very, very clearly outlined this. So I think this is a completely new paradigm in our thinking.
General Saab, how would you see Bharat's aerial operations? 11 air bases, 9 of them damaged severely in conventional, and that to 2 nuclear nations, and to call up the nuclear bogey. Prime Minister touched upon this, saying this nuclear blackmail will not work. We're not going to blink to that anymore. And more importantly, will other nations also sit up and take notice of our caliber, our ability to strike at will, and that too at an expanse that spans from Skardu all the way to the Canton, Karachi?
Anand, the way the airstrikes were conducted on the 9th, I think is completely exemplary in what you can do and the capacities and capabilities that the Indian military and particularly the Air Force has. I mean, the precision with which it was done, the scale at which it was done. I think anything, which has brought Pakistan crying to the ceasefire table is the fact that their air operations, if this has continued, would literally have been completely jeopardized, completely stopped, giving India sort of a free run over Pakistani airspace. I would say it was just an absolutely fantastic precision operation that showcases our capabilities not only to Pakistan, but indeed to some of our adversaries like China and to the global audience.
There's been a crash on the stocks, the defense stocks of the Chinese defense military industrial complex. Your thoughts there, and the Prime Minister's messaging of the S-400s and the MiGs behind. So there are multiple messages going across both towards the east and the west, General Huda.
So Anand, after the first day, there was so much sort of euphoria and some of the international press, which honestly I feel is sort of aligned against Indian interest, talking about how the Chinese aircraft have done so well. But ultimately, these things have to be viewed from a long-term perspective. We know today 80% of Pakistani military equipment is of Chinese origin. And the fact that such massive destruction, devastation could be caused deep into Pakistan, I think is a telling sort of reminder of what the capacities, capabilities of Chinese equipment, including their air defense systems and missiles that they've given to Pakistan.
But General Huda, what does Bharat do? There is a now call about nations that are inimical to us. Should we actually commercially engage? Should Bharat's soft power be exercised in trying to close the tap of earned revenue from nations by these nations? Azerbaijan, Turkey, China.
Absolutely, Narasimhan. I think the point is that we must understand that some of these countries are inimical to our interest. Countries like China are strategic rivals to India, and that strategic rivalry is not going to go away in a hurry. I mean, we are seeing what China is doing not only to Pakistan, but among our neighboring countries. And so we have this long-term strategic rivalry. At some stage, these two nations are, I won't say come into conflict, but definitely the rivalry will persist. What is it that we need to do? I heard in a program earlier, this dependency on trade equipment coming from China. We have tried. We have said that we need to reduce this dependency. But this needs to go sort of much further. The Atmanirbharta needs to become, much more coherent, and over a period of time, reduce our dependencies on China. China would. I agree with General Pandey's comments earlier that China would like nothing more than a conflict between India and Pakistan, and to show, look, you are shifting and trying to shift manufacturing into a country like India. But there is instability in South Asia. That would obviously be the message, and that is something that we need to contend with. There is a big push for our indigenous defense industry, our indigenous industry, and this push must be even strengthened more than what it is. Obviously, trade is a key tool, as President Trump is showing us, and we need to exploit whatever capacity and capabilities that we have.
But General Saab, final question. I think we've got time for just one more question. My thought was beyond the strategic requirements and what are the core compulsions with respect to trade. A lot of times these engagements are layered with cultural interaction, interface, people-to-people contact, promoting tourism, promoting cinema production, etc. Which nations which are predominantly inimical to Bharat, should we just put a blanket stop on all of this? No need for tourism there, no need for people-to-people connect, no need for university interaction, etc., etc. with nations like Turkey, China, Azerbaijan, etc. There are so many other nations, if not within Bharat itself.
Anand, look, today India has the growing stature. I think the Indian people by themselves, the way the number of tourists that are moving around from India outside, we have this soft power, we have this economic power. And I think we need to show to these countries who are clearly inimical and hostile to us that we are going to be able to exploit this soft power. Of course, as you said, Turkey, China are not Maldives, but that doesn't mean that the potential of the Indian tourists, for example, and as you mentioned about the film industry going in and shooting in these areas, I think it also, even if it doesn't have a huge economic impact on that country, I think it shows that the people of this country are together. It shows that we are willing as a nation to stand up for what we think is right. It's not only that the governments have to do it, that we as the people of Bharat are also going to be able to do this and show that we are together in this.
Very well said, sir. It's not about कि उनको कितना फायदा हो रहा है. It's about भारत को कितना फायदा हो रहा है. That every Bharatiya is contributing in a whole of government, whole of nation approach in trying to protect its borders from forces that are inimical to it, strategically, objectively, militarily, however it is. General Huda, always a pleasure speaking with you, sir. I have run out of time. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Anand.
Jai Hind, sir.
Thank you, Anand. Bye bye.
On that note, we're going to call it a wrap on this edition of The Right Stand. Please stay with us. Brass Tacks follows after the break.
Co-presented by
इस जयघोष की ताकत अभी अभी दुनिया ने देखी है। भारत माता की जय यह सिर्फ उद्घोष नहीं है, ये देश के हर उस सैनिक की शपथ है जो मां भारती की मान मर्यादा के लिए जान की बाजी लगा देता है। ये देश के हर उस नागरिक की आवाज है जो देश के लिए जीना चाहता है, कुछ कर गुजरना चाहता है। भारत माता की जय मैदान में भी गूंजती है और मिशन में भी। जब भारत के सैनिक मां भारती की जय बोलते हैं तो दुश्मन के कलेजे कांप जाते हैं। जब हमारे ड्रोन दुश्मन के किले की दीवारों को ढहा देते हैं, जब हमारी मिसाइलें सनसनाती हुई निशाने पर पहुंचती हैं तो दुश्मन को सुनाई देता है भारत माता। जब हम सूरज उगा देते हैं तो दुश्मन को दिखाई देता है भारत माता की जय। जब हमारी फौजें न्यूक्लियर ब्लैकमेल की धमकी की हवा निकाल देती हैं तो आकाश से पाताल तक एक ही बात गूंजती है, भारत माता की जय। साथियों, वाकई आप सभी ने कोटि कोटि भारतीयों का सीना चौड़ा कर दिया है। हर भारतीय का माथा गर्व से ऊंचा कर दिया है। आपने इतिहास रच दिया है। और मैं आज सुबह सुबह आपके बीच आया हूं आपके दर्शन करने के लिए। जब वीरों के पैर धरती पर पड़ते हैं तो धरती धन्य हो जाती है। जब वीरों के दर्शन का अवसर मिलता है तो जीवन धन्य हो जाता है। और इसलिए मैं आज सुबह सुबह ही आपके दर्शन करने के लिए यहां पहुंचा। आज से अनेक दशक बाद भी जब भारत के इस पराक्रम की चर्चा होगी तो उसके सबसे प्रमुख अध्याय आप और आपके साथी होंगे। आप सभी वर्तमान के साथ ही देश की आने वाली पीढ़ियों की और उनके लिए भी नई प्रेरणा बन गए हैं। मैं वीरों की इस धरती से आज एयरफोर्स, नेवी और आर्मी के सभी जाबाजों, बीएसएफ के अपने शूरवीरों को सैल्यूट करता हूं।
भारत माता की जय! भारत माता की जय! भारत माता की जय!
आपके पराक्रम की वजह से आज ऑपरेशन सिंदूर की गूंज हर कोने में सुनाई दे रही है। इस पूरे ऑपरेशन के दौरान
Good evening, you're watching Brass Tacks. I'm Zaka Jacob. Prime Minister Narendra Modi was at the Adampur Air Base near Jalandhar today in Punjab. This is one of India's frontline air bases, the second biggest attached to the Northern Command of the Indian Air Force. It was also a base that the Pakistanis claimed was badly damaged in their attacks on the 9th of May. It was also the base which was the target of the Pakistani Fatah-2 supersonic missile. Now, from the images that we saw this morning at the time that the Prime Minister spent in the Adampur Air Base, we can safely report there is no visible damage at the base. The Prime Minister gave a rousing speech to rally the troops there, where he underlined once again what he calls the new normal in the India-Pakistan relationship. But he also sent a powerful message with the S-400 air defense systems, the MiG-29s, the fourth-generation fighter jet, all of it in the background. These are, of course, Russian-made equipment. We will analyze all of those meanings in just a bit. But here's a glimpse